Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going to get into something that's really fundamental to property law, but also really confusing. We're talking about deeds.
Right.
And our mission today is to cut through some of that legal jargon, especially when it comes to the, let's call it the infamous quitclaim deed.
That's a good word for it. And I think the best place to start really is a point of confusion for almost everyone. The difference between a deed and a title.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that. They sound interchangeable. If I own my house, what do I have? The deed or the title?
You have the title. The title is the idea of ownership. It's the bundle of rights you have over that property, the right to use it, to sell it.
The concept.
Exactly, the concept. The deed, on the other hand, well, that's the physical piece of paper. It's the legal document that actually transfers that title from me to you.
So the deed is like the receipt. It's the proof that the ownership actually moved.
That's a perfect way to put it. The deed moves the asset. The title is the right you hold.
Okay, that distinction is clear now. So let's talk about that quitclaim deed, the QCD. It's known for being simple, but also, really dangerous for the person on the receiving end. What is it actually doing?
What's so interesting about the quitclaim is that it transfers whatever interest a person has in a property. But, and this is the huge warning label, it comes with absolutely zero guarantees that they actually have any valid interest to begin with.
Hold on. So if I give you a quitclaim deed for a property, I'm not actually promising that I own it.
Not at all. You're simply saying, whatever claim I might have on this property, if any, I'm now giving it to you. You're not guaranteeing that claim is 100% ownership or even 1% ownership. You're just releasing it.
Wow. Okay, so that is maximum risk for the person getting it, the grantee. If the person giving it owns nothing, you get a piece of paper that's literally worthless.
You get nothing.
So why on earth would anyone accept a transfer like that?
It all comes down to trust. You almost never see these in a typical home sale with strangers. They're pretty much exclusively for non-sale situations where the two parties know each other.
Okay, so these are for friendly transactions. Can you give us some examples?
Sure. The classic cases are transfers between family members, a parent giving a house to a child. Another really common one is in a divorce.
Ah, to get a spouse off the title.
Exactly. You're removing an ex-spouse from the title. They know exactly what their interest was, so there's no need for warranties. It's more of an administrative cleanup.
That makes perfect sense. It's not a sale. It's just a formal change.
Right. You also see them used to clean up messy titles on inherited property or to move a house into a living trust for estate planning. The key is always a high level of pre-existing trust.
And since it's based on trust, what happens if that trust breaks down? Can you just undo a quitclaim deed?
You can, but it's not simple. If both people agree, sure, you can reverse it. But if there's a dispute, you'd have to go to court and prove something like fraud or that the person signing it was not mentally competent or maybe was a minor.
Okay, that makes sense. So this leads us to the other side of the coin. What about the deeds you use for big, high-stakes transactions, like buying a house from a total stranger?
Right, so if the quitclaim is zero assurance, these other deeds are all about providing protection. We call them warranty deeds, and they put all the liability back on the seller.
Let's start with the top tier, the best protection you can get.
That would be the general warranty deed. This is the gold standard. The seller guarantees they own the property free and clear, and this is the critical part, the guarantee covers the entire history of the property.
Entire history. So wait, if I buy a house with one of these, and in 10 years, a lien from the 1980s pops up, something from long before my seller even owned the place, what happens?
The seller who gave you that deed is legally on the hook to fix it. They made a promise that the entire chain of title was clean, and they have to stand by that. It's a huge promise to make.
It really is. Okay, so what's the next step down from that?
That's usually the special warranty deed. You see this a lot in commercial real estate. Here, the seller guarantees the title is clean, but only for the period of time that they themselves owned it.
Ah, okay. So they're protecting you from any mess they might have made, but not from the owner 5 steps back.
Exactly. And then there's another common one called the grant deed.
How does that one fit in?
A grant deed makes two very specific promises. First, that the seller hasn't already sold the property to someone else. And second, that they haven't put any lines or mortgages on it that they haven't told you about. It's a promise of a free and clear title during their tenure.
So it seems like the real difference here is just about who holds the liability. With a warranty deed, it's the seller. With a quitclaim deed, all of it gets dumped on the buyer.
You've nailed it. The type of deed you use is a direct measure of the risk you're willing to assume.
Okay, so since liability is so central,
hmm
what actually makes any of these deeds legally binding? What are the nuts and bolts?
Well, regardless of the type, the requirements are pretty standard. You need a very specific legal description of the property, not just the street address, but boundaries, lot numbers, all that.
Okay.
Then you need the name of the grantor who's giving it and the grantee who's getting it, the date, and crucially, the signatures have to be notarized. Some places require witnesses too.
And once it's all signed and notarized, that's it.
Not quite. The next step is absolutely critical. It has to be filed with the local government, usually called the Register of Deeds. If it isn't filed, it isn't part of the public record.
And if it's not public record, it basically doesn't count against anyone else who might have a claim.
Exactly. It's not legally recognized by the world at large, which can cause huge problems down the line.
Let's talk about a term that always seems a bit formal: consideration. Why is it so important to state the value exchanged?
Consideration is vital because it proves the deal is legitimate. It shows there was a serious intent to make a binding agreement.
But you see deeds that say, for $1 and other valuable consideration. What's going on there?
That's a good question. That $1 is symbolic, but it's important. If there's no consideration listed or if it's way below market value, government bodies like the IRS might see it as a gift, not a sale.
And that could trigger gift taxes for the recipient, right?
Absolutely. So listing some consideration, even if it's for love and affection and a
Yeah.
family transfer, it just clarifies the legal and financial intent of the whole thing.
So it's not just a formality, it's a shield against future tax problems.
It really is.
Now, you mentioned earlier that a deed could be voided. What are the common reasons for that, even if the paperwork seems perfect?
The main ones relate to the grantor's ability to sign. If the person signing is found to not be mentally competent, or if they're a minor, the deed can be thrown out. And of course, if it was a forgery, it's completely void.
Right. And it's also worth remembering that even with a perfect deed, you can't just do anything you want with the land.
Oh, absolutely not. That's where you run into deed restrictions, or sometimes they're called restrictive covenants.
Like rules from a homeowners association.
Exactly. There are limitations on how you can use the property, and they're written right into the deed or a document it refers to. It could be anything from prohibiting certain types of fences to, what kind of business you can run out of your home. They're designed to maintain property values.
To wrap this all up, can we quickly touch on a couple of related terms people hear a lot? First, what's a deed of trust?
A deed of trust is basically a substitute for a mortgage in some states. It adds a third party, a trustee, like a title company. That trustee holds the actual deed until the loan is fully paid off.
And that helps the lender.
It does. It makes foreclosure much faster for them if the borrower defaults because the trustee can just sell the property without a lengthy court battle.
And finally, what about a deed in lieu of foreclosure?
That's sort of a last resort option. It's when a homeowner who can't make their payments voluntarily gives the deed back to the bank.
To avoid foreclosure on their record.
Exactly. In exchange, the lender usually releases them from the rest of the debt. It's a cleaner exit that's less damaging to the borrower's credit.
So bringing it all back to where we started, the quitclaim deed. What's the one thing people need to remember?
The critical takeaway is that it's a tool for a very specific job. It's efficient for administrative transfers where you already have total trust. But because it has no guarantees, it is a liability transfer machine. You have to be 100% certain the grantor's ownership is real because you have no legal comeback if it turns out they owned nothing.
And I suppose understanding that difference, the huge gap in liability between a general warranty deed and a quitclaim deed, that's the key to making an informed decision.
It really is. And here's a final thought to leave you with. When you sign that deed, you get legal possession of a piece of land, but that right is never truly private. It's always subject to public view at the Registry of Deeds, and your freedom to actually use your own land is often limited by restrictions written into the very document that says you own it.
Ownership is definitely a more complicated and more public concept than we tend to think. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll catch you next time.